Don't you feel the love is all around, in the sky and in the ground, in every single living thing, and in the song that I'm singing. There are children in the streets that have nothing to eat, yet their hearts are full of love. They are beings from above. Love's everywhere you go. All you have to do is open up your soul. Feel the love inside you grow. And take every chance you get to spread the love everywhere. Can you feel it in the air? It's spreading everywhere. Can you feel the love inside? It's spreading worldwide. With every step you take, there's pleasure, there is pain. Every being everywhere. Feel the love you share. Feel the love we share. Let it grow everywhere.
We gonna take this magical feeling, spread it around from when the sun rises till the evening. Let it touch the heart of the soul that are grieving, 'cause we rising and without you we ain't leaving.
Love is a really special thing. Can't be replaced with anything, including diamond rings and rich, wealthy kings. The offspring of a butterfly feels the love once it flies. Doesn't matter what your size, you'll feel the love inside. Now there's a thing called hate, and that's a classified mistake. There's only room for love today, so forget all the pain. Can you feel the love inside? It is spreading worldwide. With every step you take, there is pleasure, there is pain. Every being everywhere. Can you feel the love you share? Or feel the love we share? Let it grow everywhere.
We spreading love one at a time, Doesn't matter your race, color, or size. All I know is that when I look into your eyes, love is all I wanna spread. I realize I love you. I say that truly from my heart, 'cause I know if I don't start now, who knows when we'll depart. I have faith that our love creates a spark that starts a flame that will erase all the dark, yeah. Imagine that, dark turning into light, just 'cause one of our hearts loosened up from its tight grip, so it touched the next with all its joy and brightness. And that's the story of how we ended this crisis.
Can you feel the love inside? It is spreading worldwide. With every step you take, there's pleasure, there is pain. Every being everywhere. Can you feel the love we share? Feel the love we share. Let it grow everywhere. Can you feel the love inside? It's spreading worldwide. With every step you take, there's pleasure, there is pain. Every being everywhere. Can you feel the love we share? Feel the love we share. Let it grow everywhere. Can you feel the love inside? It's spreading worldwide. With every step you take.
Good morning and a heart-filled welcome to Emerson to each of you. My name is Leslie McLean, and I'm a member of the worship team and the Emerson Choir. A special welcome to those who may be visiting us for the first time or who are joining us after an absence. We hope you are nourished in heart and mind by our worship today. As a Unitarian Universalist congregation, we welcome a wide variety of theological and spiritual beliefs. We honor the inherent worth and dignity of each and every person. You are welcome here. All are warmly invited to join us for activities following the service. Coffee and conversation time begins at 10:45, and then beginning at 11:15, there are engaging one-hour online opportunities today for youth and adults, but not children, due to Easter Sunday. Today, there is no religious education for children 5th grade and younger. Each of these opportunities is a wonderful time to explore meaningful topics and get to know other members of our community. They are held in Zoom meeting rooms, and links are available in the weekly Emerson notebook or in the order of service, which is accessible through our website. If you would like to be on our mailing list to receive the notebook and information about all of our upcoming activities and announcements, please go to emersonuu.org to subscribe or click on the link in the chat box. Each Sunday, we light our chalice to begin our service and to affirm our Unitarian Universalist values. Our chalice lighting words today are by Marian Wright Edelman, founder and president emerita of the Children's Defense Fund. Learn to be quiet enough to hear the genuine within yourself so that you can hear it in others. And now, in the spirit of community, I invite you to take a moment to greet those with you this morning in person or online by sharing with them our congregational affirmation: we need not think alike to love alike.
Thank you, Leslie, and welcome everybody. Guess where I'm at? And you are all going to be here soon with me too as well, I do hope. So good morning, everyone. My name is Reverend Deborah Bennett, and as always, it is a joy to be with you, to share and worship together, and to be at Emerson and be part of this community. And truly, just by joining together today in worship, we are a community. Whether your image is on the screen or you are just listening as you're busy around the house, maybe making breakfast. By the way, I like my eggs poached. Or perhaps you're listening to this later in your car, who knows where. In this moment, as you're listening, we are a community together, and I welcome you. Today, we have this opportunity to feel the love in the world and spread it worldwide. I loved that opening invocation. If you didn't get a chance to hear it today and you're just coming in, tune in next week a little earlier because we're going to play it again. It's a beautiful piece by Shivani Ray and Nemo Patel. Well, this morning begins our monthly theme of becoming, and what a perfect time to start this theme, as it is Easter morning for the Christian community and is the second Sunday of Passover for the Jewish community. And thanks to all that pollen in the air, we know it is that time of year when the earth and all of its creatures are in full bloom of becoming, right? They are in full rebirth mode. So I want to say happy holy days to all and happy becoming to everyone. Today, we're going to explore our own personal becoming and the necessity of tapping into that which is truest in ourselves. So I'm going to begin with this piece by Rob Bell. It's called Walk, Don't Run. Walk, don't run. That's it. Walk, don't run. Slow down. Breathe deeply and open your eyes, because there's a whole world right here in this one. The bush didn't suddenly catch on fire. It's been burning the whole time. Moses is simply moving slowly enough to see it. And when he does, he takes off his sandals. Not because the ground has suddenly become holy, but because he's just now becoming aware that the ground has been holy the whole time. Efficiency is not God's highest goal for you in your life. Neither is busyness, or how many things you can get done in one day, or speed, or even success. But walking, which leads to seeing, now that's something. That's the invitation for every one of us today and every day, in every conversation, interaction, event, and moment, to walk. not run. And in doing so, to see a whole world right here within this one. So welcome Easter, welcome spring, welcome to the rising rebirth of you in this moment. So let's join together, let's join our voices with our hymn singers. Our hymn singers today are Jeffrey Jacoby and Kathy Creasy Middleman. And we're gonna sing, Lo, the Earth Awakens Again. Join us.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Beth Klein, and I have a story for all ages. I think that Isabel might be ready to join me on the screen. Isabel, are you there? Welcome. The theme we're exploring for April at Emerson Unitarian Universalist Congregation this month is becoming. When we think about becoming, we think about becoming more and more. Becoming wiser, becoming taller, becoming faster. But becoming isn't just about expanding and adding. Much of the time, it also requires letting go so that we can draw in the new. So I have a basket full of balloons this morning. See them? Yeah, really. They're all connected by a rope. So I'll pull them out of the basket and let's talk about the balloons as being the letting go part. And we'll use admission tickets, these giant admission tickets that I made to signify the letting in part of the discussion. Isabel, if you're out there, can you hear me? Isabel was going to tell us about what happens when you let go of a balloon. So maybe that hasn't happened to you lately, but I've got one here. So what happens when I let go of the balloon? It's not helium, so it's not going up. Boom. That's what happens. It just bounces around and rolls, and the wind can grab it and it can be on its way. So in nature, hey, Isabel. Can you unmute?
Okay, there we go.
There you go. Hey, Isabel, I was going to ask you, do you remember when you were a little kid, or maybe not such a little kid, when you let go of balloons? What happened?
No, I didn't really let go of balloons, but I wondered how far it would actually go.
Oh, sure. Up in the atmosphere, or and we don't do that anymore because it's not great for the environment, right? But yeah, so many times. I also remember water balloons. Have you ever played with water balloons?
Mm-hmm.
You know, they splat, but balloons are just meant to escape, right? So they're a letting go thing. Absolutely. So in nature, a caterpillar needs to get my balloon, let go in order to let in the idea of transformation to being a chrysalis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a chrysalis needs to let go of the idea of being a chrysalis so that it can, being all folded and snuggly, in order to let go, to let in the transformation of being a butterfly with wings. So a person, people, whether they're older or younger, may need to let go of that fear that they may have of learning to do something new, let in that idea of maybe getting the guts up to take that violin lesson, start those lessons that they talked about, or maybe diving in to fix your own bike, some adventurous things. Isabel, is there something you've been dreaming about that you want to let go and let in?
Well, I was thinking about learning maybe a new language. Yeah, but it's really hard. So I think I need to start practicing really in depth so I don't have so much trouble.
Absolutely. And part of it is just making the decision to dive into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So when I think personally of letting go, I think so many of you know me really well, and you know that I love to buy china dishes and fancy tablecloths and chairs. Yes, I said chairs at local thrift stores, right? So for me to be able to display and use my junk store treasures, I have to let go some of them every once in a while. And it's a little hard for me. But I always feel better when I go ahead and do that and I let in some space. So this weekend, when so many of our Christian friends are celebrating Easter, let's use the framework of letting go and letting in to explore that Easter story. When we learn about Easter in the New Testament of the Bible, Jesus, get my rope, Jesus had to let go of the possibility of having a life where he was just a normal, everyday carpenter's son. And he had to do that to be able to let in that wisdom and the skills to become a religious leader. So he had to let go. Also, he had to let go of preaching out in the country. He used to travel around. He was an itinerant preacher. And he had to let that go. And those are out in the country was where people knew him and they loved him. And he had to go to the capital of the government in Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, a week before Easter, in order to let in his message to the greater world and speak truth to power. Jesus had to let go of hoping he might avoid a trial and a painful punishment in order to let in the will of his Father, God. His death let in the possibility that he would long be remembered and honored, and still today, with his inspiring messages of hope and his resurrection from the dead. Jesus' followers, the disciples and all his other followers, had to let go of Jesus as a teacher among them. And in order to let in the determination to become new teachers of Jesus's good news themselves. So in closing, sometimes in order to let go of the balloon, we need to let in something new. And we might as well let that balloon just float away. Sometimes it's easier that way. Or we might pop it for a sudden letting go. Now I find that there's space in my hands and a ticket to something new. Let's ponder that as we sing our song of dedication. The words are projected on your screen, so please sing along.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with each other. Thus do we promise to each other.
Emerson strives to be a radically inclusive, open-minded, beloved community that is a vibrant source of peace, hope, and healing. This is an ambitious mission that requires each of us to be generous of our time, talent, and treasure. But when the entire congregation gives generously, the impact on ourselves, our congregation, our community, and our world is tremendous. To extend our effectiveness even further, we partner with a charity every month whose values align with our own through our Share the Basket program. This month's partner is Lost and Found Youth. Lost and Found Youth strives to end homelessness for all LGBTQ youth by providing them with the skills and support needed to live independently. They envision a world where all youth feel safe and supported to live and love authentically. We ask that if you're able, whether a longtime member or a first-time visitor, to please support Emerson and Lost and Found Youth by texting Emerson to 73256 and making a one-time or recurring contribution to our Share the Basket program. You can also click the green online giving button on our website, emersonuu.org, or click on the link in the chat box. Your donation goes a long way to sustaining our beloved community. We thank you for sharing in the stewardship of our vision.
40% of the homeless youth population identifies as LGBTQ. Lost and Found Youth's mission is to end homelessness for LGBTQ youth by providing them with the skills and support needed to live independently. More than half the homeless youth we serve were rejected by their families after they came out. Even on the street, they face discrimination, harassment, violence, and sexual abuse. Lost and Found Youth are often their only refuge. Your support enables us to raise awareness and give homeless LGBTQ youth in Atlanta shelter, clothing, and food. Together, we create a network that maintains their physical and mental health needs. Support Lost and Found Youth today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Melanie LeMay, and I serve as a member of the Emerson Pastoral Care Team. We on the Pastoral Care Team are available, listening and caring to support you during challenging times. You can contact us at our email address, which is pastoralcare@emersonuu.org. Now, at this time today, we pause to share personal joys, sorrows, and concerns of our Emerson community. Each Sunday, we light our vigil bowl. Its light represents the light of hope for the peaceful resolution of all conflicts on our planet. And it honors all dedicated people who serve us, including those on the front line of COVID-19. We also light a special candle of acknowledgement for the Cherokee and Muskogee nations of people who lived on this land before us. May this candle remind us of our interconnection and may our actions help heal all nations of people. Reverend Deborah will light our candles as I share our joys today. We have 3 joys. The first one is from Kathy Tomlin. Kathy is at home and resting after having successful hip replacement surgery. So far, all is well. So let us add our prayers for her to have a smooth and full recovery. Kathy, we hope to see you dancing at our outdoor service in May. Next, from Judy Griffith. Judy is at home recovering from surgery at the home of one of her friends, and she should be home soon. And from Nick Joquet, a big thanks to the combination of Green Sanctuary team members and the Buildings and Grounds members, Denise Carden, Dave Schemmel, Art Wickman, David Willis, and Michael Myers, for helping Emerson move one step closer to being carbon neutral. This past year, we worked to win grant money to pay for a new heating and cooling system. And this past week, we installed the first high-efficiency heat pump that will reduce energy costs by 40% for that one unit. Only 14 more to go. At this time, first, let me ask that if you have joys that you'd like to share with the Emerson community, you can type them into the chat now, as Reverend Deborah lights a candle for them. We have no sorrows or concerns to report today, but if you have sorrows or concerns that you'd like to share with us, please feel free to type those into your chat now, as Reverend Deborah lights candles for them as well. We also know that there may be joys and concerns that are too tender to share. Feel free to speak or type into the chat the name of someone you are holding in your heart today. let us send our heartfelt caring intentions to all people, everywhere, by offering the Buddhist prayer of loving kindness. The words will appear on your screen, and they're always in the order of service. May all beings be filled with loving kindness. May they be free from harm and suffering. May they be well in body, heart, and spirit. May they be at peace. Blessed be.
Thank you, Melanie, and blessings to each of you who shared this morning. I'm going to invite us into a time of centering. So this is that time that if you're maybe multitasking, to maybe try to bring that in a little bit, create a little space around you wherever you are. It's a time to consciously make that choice to walk and not run, to slow down and to listen a little more deeply, to see the holy that is here right now. As we take a breath together, feel free to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you, or have your eyes be really soft, and take in these words from Howard Thurman. There is something in every one of you that waits, listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. And if you cannot hear it, you will never find whatever it is for which you are searching. And if you hear it and then do not follow it, it was better that you had never been born. Now take a deeper breath. Listen a little deeply. You are the only you that has ever lived. If you cannot hear the sound of the genuine in you, you will all of your life spend your days on the ends of strings that someone else pulls. And listen a little more deeply. There is in you something that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in yourself. And sometimes there is so much traffic going on in your minds, so many different kinds of signals, so many vast impulses floating through your organism that go back thousands of generations, long before you were even a thought in the mind of creation. And you are buffeted by these. And in the midst of all of this, you have got to find out what your name is. Who are you? How does the sound of the genuine come through you? For indeed, the sound of the genuine is flowing through you. Listen to the voice.
Hear your voice on the wind, and hear
To marry one's soul. If we are to live without silencing or numbing essential parts of who we are, a vow must be invoked and upheld within oneself. The same commitments we pronounce when embarking on a marriage can be understood internally as a devotion to the care of one's soul, to have and to hold, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish, till death do us part. It is interesting that the nautical definition of marry is to join two ropes end to end by interweaving their strands. To marry one's soul suggests that we interweave the life of our spirit with the life of our psychology, the life of our heart with the life of our mind, the life of our faith and truth with the life of our doubt and anxiety. And just as two ropes that are married create a tie that is twice as strong, when we marry our humanness to our spirit, we create a life that is doubly strong in the world.
Pretty big rope. You know, when my children were little, we loved the Little House on the Prairie books. Now, living up north, the story of the big winter especially caught our attention and our fear. So there's this one moment when I think it's Pa, and maybe Pa was telling a story about his Pa. But anyway, I just remember how he described that when there was a blizzard coming, that people would tie ropes from their house to the barn and then tether themselves firmly to the rope. Storms could come up quickly in the Midwest, and if you were out feeding the horses or in the barn for another reason, when one arose, you may never make it back to the house. So thick and disorienting would the blizzard be. And the rope was there to tether you home. They say many froze to death in those snowstorms, disoriented by their inability to see through the heavy swirl of the snow. They say people wandered in circles, lost sometimes in their own backyards. If they lost their grip on the rope, it became nearly impossible for them to find their way home. There are stories of people who froze within feet of their own front door, never realizing how close they were to safety. This visual struck me at the time and has stayed with me for many years. A tether. Oh, how many times in my life have I not ensured that I was tethered to my home? How many blizzards whipped me around, disoriented me, left me so close and yet so far away from true safety? How many times have I forgotten that the tether had been there all along, and I just needed to reach my hand out and affirm the connection? Has that ever happened to you? Have you felt whipped around by life's blizzards and forgotten your connection to the life-saving force of that which is your true home inside yourself, inside your heart? Maybe it's happening right now for some of you. Parker Palmer speaks of this phenomena of storms and the need to tether in his book, The Hidden Wholeness. It's called The Hidden Wholeness, The Journey Toward an Undivided Life. In his book, Palmer parallels Howard Thurman's idea of the genuine in each of us, he calling it this hidden wholeness. And they both offer that there is something, that there is some state of being that is true and strong, something that is undivided and purely accessible to each of us. Something or some state of awareness that is genuine, that is unique, and yet universally whole. It is in establishing a connection, a tether, if you will, to this genuine wholeness. It is in that we are granted life. Not just life, but actual aliveness. How many of us live without being alive? There's a difference, right? But how do we find the genuine self? How do we tether to this hidden wholeness in the storms that try to whip us around and cause us to lose our grip? Well, perhaps the answer is not so much how do we find it, but how do we stop not finding it? Because it's there all along. When my youngest daughter was born, her big 3-year-old sister cut the cord that tethered her new sweet little body to mine. It would be the first of many, many cord cuttings to unfold in our lives together, as is true for all parents, right? They are both beautiful and incredibly scary moments, these cord cuttings. How will they find their way without these cords? We ask ourselves each time one is severed that brings them more freedom. But little do we know at the time, it's not those tethers between us that will guide them, but that they, just like us, have a cord to something deeper, something that is so strong that it can never be severed, only forgotten occasionally. The first time I realized that my oldest daughter had such a cord all her own was when she was 3. And I don't remember the details, but I remember that I had told her she couldn't do something or have something that she wanted. To me, I remember it being some inconsequential thing, some random thing, and probably it was one of those moments where I, as a parent, said no more for my convenience than really assessing what that would mean for her. Well, after getting several no's, my little one toddled off to the living room, and I stayed in the kitchen doing whatever I was doing. And a few minutes went by, and in walks this little being, and she approaches me, and she squares off to me. And she puts her little tiny 3-year-old feet, plants them firmly on the ground. And I could see her take some deep breath into these relatively newly formed lungs. And she looked up at me and she told me in no uncertain terms that although I had said no, that thing, and again, I can't remember what the thing was, but that thing was important to her and she was going to do it. The sheer magnitude of her self-presence in that moment brings tears to my eyes to this day. It almost knocked me over. It was clear that she was connected to something far greater than any no I could muster up. And I was humbled and proud in that moment. And something inside me knew that this little girl was going to be okay in this world. She didn't need my cord. She was tethered to her own. The genuine is always there in each of us. But do we feel it? The bush is always burning. Rob Bell reminded us in our opening words, Moses is simply moving slowly enough, finally, slowly enough to see it. And when he does, what does he do? He takes off his sandals, not because the ground has suddenly become holy, because he's just now becoming aware that the ground has been holy the whole time. When will we become aware of the holiness of our own being, our own genuine being that's been there the whole time? When will the tether to that wholeness become the most important thing in our lives? You see, many of us run around in the blizzards of our lives trying to stop the storm, right? Push the snow back up into the sky. We yell and we swear and we try to move things around. We start support groups online, forums. We complain about the storm. We find others to complain about the storm with us. We build up shelters to protect ourselves in the storm. And all the while, we're being blown this way and that, metaphorically freezing just steps from home. It is the ability to recognize the burning bush, to know we are tethered to something more true than the storm, that I call Christ consciousness. Now, I will admit I am not a Christian, although I must tell you that I did have a Jesus phase for a brief time. It was during my time in the ashram, and I came to really feel this immense love and admiration for the figure of Jesus and true devotion. And I think I was in part influenced by something my teacher had said about Jesus. He spoke of Jesus often. And he said Jesus was a person who did what they said they would do, because what they said they would do was spoken from a place of deep connection with Source. The Source is the home of the genuine self. Now, I wonder, how often do we say we will do something from a place of guilt? We say we'll do something from a place of shame or pressure, or we should, versus saying yes to something from a deeper knowing. And we know the difference, right? We can feel it. When we are acting in a non-genuine way, it's like our whole being shouts at us, right? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed it in your physical being? The no? Do we listen? In the Easter story of Jesus, he is killed and then rises up. And the question I like to ask is this: what is reborn when he rises? What rises up? The body is dead. It did not become animated again and walk around and leave the cave on its own. Sorry, I don't think it did. But I believe there was a resurrection, and the resurrection in these stories is about the resurrection of consciousness, about the resurrection of awareness of this tether, of this connection. It's a rebirth of that connection. What if the message in the Jesus story is not about taking away the storms, the sins of life? What if the death of Jesus is about the rebirth of our truest selves? That's what is reborn. It's about rebirthing ourselves and not cutting the cord to the source of wholeness, the genuine that we are. Well, anyway, that's my interpretation of the biblical texts. You may have your own on this Easter morning. But regardless, the question remains for all of us mere mortals. Are we going to blunder around in the storms, or will we tether to the hidden wholeness and what is genuine in each of us, and let that be our guide? And here's the thing: if we are all doing that, what does that mean for how we relate to each other? In the 1980 commencement address at Spelman College that I quoted from this morning in our centering from Howard Thurman, he also goes on and offers some insights I want to share. Because he says there is something in you that waits and listens for the sound of the genuine in other people. Have you noticed that? Can you tell when you're with somebody who's really authentic, really acting from that place? It's mesmerizing, isn't it? And we listen and we're looking, we're wanting that from the other folks. And if you can't hear it, you feel a little reduced in yourself. Howard Thurman goes on, he says, if I were to ask you what is the thing that you desire most in life, you would say a lot of things off the top of your head, most of which you wouldn't believe. But you would think that you were saying the things I thought you ought to think that you should say. And he says this, he says, but I think that if you were stripped to whatever there is in you that is literal and irreducible, and you tried to answer that question, that the answer would be something like this. You would answer this way. You would say, I want to feel that I am thoroughly and completely understood so that now and then I can take my guard down. and look out around me and not feel that I will be destroyed. I want to feel completely vulnerable, completely naked, completely exposed, and absolutely secure. This is what you look for, that I can run the risk of radical exposure and feel secure. Because I hear the sound of the genuine in myself, and having learned to listen to that, I can become quiet enough, still enough, to hear the sound of the genuine in you. End quote. So we each have our own ways to support us in staying connected, to rebirth ourselves again and again into that secure vulnerability. Isn't that a beautiful term? Secure vulnerability. For me, my tether is my spiritual practices. Sitting on my meditation cushion encourages me to become quiet enough to listen for the genuine in me. At times, it may feel like I'm really far away, far from home, and that's when I grab the tether tighter and I pull myself back in and remind myself that it's there. It may be different for you. You may find it on a meditation cushion, or you may find it in the woods. You may find it behind the piano playing music or swimming in a pool or any number of other ways. How you connect is personal to you, but that you connect, that's universal to all of us. My friends, now more than ever, we need to listen, to hear the genuine in ourselves and listen for that in each other. So on this Easter, Passover, spring morning, may you listen to the sound of the genuine in you, and may you tether yourself to your hidden wholeness and share the beauty of who you are with the world. And please always be on the lookout for the genuine in each other. Blessed be, and please join us in our closing hymn. We are going to do when the Spirit says do. Please rise and dance and sing.
Says do. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you gotta do, oh Lord. You gotta do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do, Spirit says do. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you gotta sing, oh Lord. You gotta sing when the Spirit says sing. Spirit says sing. Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing, Spirit says sing. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you gotta dance, oh Lord. You gotta dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout, oh Lord. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. 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 Spirit says shout.
Woo! Okay, I couldn't see you all, but I'm hoping you were shouting and dancing and, well, if your spirit told you to do so. Don't just do it because I said so. For these closing words this morning, there is a thread you follow. It goes among things that change, but it doesn't change. People wonder about what things you are pursuing. You have to explain about the thread. But it's hard for others to see. While you hold it, you can't get lost. Tragedies happen, people get hurt or die, and you suffer and grow old. Nothing you do can stop time's unfolding. You don't ever let go of the thread. Blessings. Please have a beautiful day.
As we extinguish the chalice, I ask that you join with me in the final response written in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and out into the world until we are together again. Our worship has ended. Now let the service begin.